4,000 runners braved a tropical rainstorm in Gabon to take part in the first marathon in Libreville. 3 Kenyans were the top finishers in the race. The winner was Paul Kerwi, who ran the 42-kilometer race in 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 42 seconds. The first Gabonese runner took over 3 hours to finish. Hosting this first marathon was a big success for Gabon, which hopes one day to host other major sports events like a Formula One car race. Moussa Konaté, a famous writer from Mali, passed away in Limoges, France, where he lived. He was 62. He founded a publishing house and directed the Étonnant Voyageur Literary Festival in Bamako. He was a novelist and a very talented playwright. Moussa Konaté wrote detective novels in which he created the heroic character police chief Habib Moussa, which allowed readers to discover the hidden charms of the country.
A New York City commuter train derailed Sunday morning, killing at least 4 people and leaving 60 others injured. China has successfully launched its first ever extraterrestrial landing craft that is capable of conducting geological surveys and search for natural resources after it touches down on the moon in mid-December. And following a violent protest over the weekend to unseat the Prime Minister of Thailand, Yingluck Shinawatra rejected demands by opposition protesters to replace the elected government with the People's Council. We have details of these and other stories in this CFI News Roundup.
Yingluck Shinawatra rejected demands by opposition protesters to replace the elected government with a People's Council and indicated she would not resign. Her statement came amid a fresh outbreak of protests and violence over the weekend. More skirmishes broke out Monday. Opposition demonstrators have issued an ultimatum for the Prime Minister to quit. Thailand has been rocked by civil strife since Thaksin Shinawatra, Yingluck's brother, was ousted 7 years ago. Thousands of people in Honduras took to the street Sunday to demand a recount of the ballots of last week's presidential election. Conservative candidate Juan Orlando Hernandez was officially declared the winner. Supporters of leftist candidate Xiomara Castro claimed the victory was stolen from her and that she had proof of fraud. Supporters carrying the coffin of a slain party activist led the march amid chants of murderers and fraud. 4 people were killed and more than 60 injured when a New York City commuter train derailed Sunday morning. The train veered off the tracks in the Bronx borough. It is believed it may have been speeding as it took a curve on a downward slope on its way to Grand Central Station in Manhattan. Experts began an investigation on the site of the accident. The train's event recorder, similar to an airplane's black box, has been recovered. China has successfully launched its first ever extraterrestrial landing craft. If all goes smoothly, the lunar probe will conduct geological surveys and search for natural resources after it touches down on the moon in mid-December. The probe includes the Jade Rabbit buggy, a reference to Chinese mythology. China wants to establish itself as a space superpower. The mission has inspired widespread pride in the country over its growing technological prowess.
It's almost 3 years since unrest broke out in Syria, and there was no break in the bloodshed this weekend. Opposition and government forces both report that Bashar al-Assad's troops killed dozens of people in Aleppo province on Sunday. The government said it was targeting terrorists, but the opposition forces said those killed were actually civilians. The United Nations estimates that more than 100,000 people have been killed in Syria since the conflict began. As CNN's Fred Plinke saw, one suburb in the south of the city had become a key battleground in the war. He filed this report from the front line.
It's a war of snipers in this Damascus suburb. We're on the front line with government forces in the south of Syria's capital. Soldiers say their mission is to stop rebels from advancing into the city center. It's pretty much every day they try to attack our positions, he says. It happens in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, and at night. When we see them, we shoot. Opposition fighters have occupied large parts of this district and are in the buildings only a few yards away. This is what it looks like when the army notices movement on the other side. Soldiers gave us this video, which they say shows them attacking rebels as they try to fortify one of their positions. The This area is deeply scarred by the war, and heavy clashes could be heard from neighboring districts where the Syrian army is on the offensive.
As you can see, this area was pretty destroyed in the fighting. The front line's actually been static for quite a while now, but as the government wins back more territory around here, rebel fighters are fleeing to the front line in this area, and there have been increased battles recently.
It's all part of the battle for the outskirts of Damascus that will be key to the outcome of Syria's civil war. The Syrian army has won a lot of territory in recent weeks, but opposition forces, often led by Islamist brigades, have also claimed gains in some suburbs. The commander in this district, whom we can't identify, says there are a lot of foreign jihadists among the ranks of the opposition.
We have fighters from foreign ones from other countries, which are leaders, especially from countries like Libya, Chechnya, Afghan, Pakistani.
While parts of this area have been totally destroyed, life continues for some residents very close to the front line. But the commander says it could be a while before the military will regain the upper hand.
It will take some time, nearly maybe weeks, maybe months. I can't give you a correct time.
As the battle for the suburbs of Damascus rages, the soldiers here continue their mission to hold the line until they too get the order to attack. Fred Plykins, CNN, Damascus.
We now take a second break. Welcome back. Distinguished veteran sports personalities, sports officials, and active sportsmen and women on Friday evening attended the annual Sports Journalists Association's award banquet. The highlight of the annual event is presentation of awards to deserving sports personalities in recognition of their achievements and contributions to the development of sports. Mamadou S. Jallo reports. We apologize for that. That report will be coming in our tomorrow's news bulletin. But before we take leave of you, a quick reminder of the day's top stories. Yeshua Embassy Network of Churches International USA has presented a certificate of honor to the head of state, citing his untiring effort at buttressing decades-old ties between Muslims and Christians in the Gambia. Finance and Economic Affairs Minister Keba Satu Toure has called for urgent containment measures to address the spiraling domestic debt. China has joined the small but expanding club of nations capable of landing aircraft on the lunar surface with the successful launch of its first ever extraterrestrial vehicle. And 3 years of bloody fighting and at least 100,000 plus dead, still there is no sign of let-up in the carnage in Syria. Well, that was all in this edition of the news. Thanks for your time. Stay tuned to GRTS and enjoy the rest of our programs.